What's going on, party people? Welcome to your daily installment of T3 Off the Cuff. I'm Jory Goodman, the Time Teller. You already know that, though. Again, guys, we do this daily on this channel, little bits and bops of news and history that we can get out quickly. We're still doing the edited episodes, and guys, if you want an extra episode each and every week, click the join button next to the subscribe button. It's like the price of a cup of coffee, $4.99 in this economy, to support the channel, and you become an official T3 Bot channel member. Again, it's like YouTube's Patreon. My channel members are literally the reason I can do this full time. I absolutely love them. So when you click that join button, you get access to that members only Discord chat and an extra piece of content every single week. I'm going to go ahead and tell the time, and then we're going to jump into this watch that's before us, and we're going to talk about another watch that you probably never heard of. I'm very excited to share this with you. It is 8:15 a.m. Let's get down to business. Okay, guys, so what are we doing here? Well, the theme of this channel lately has been trying to combat this silly game of telephone that happens in this hobby. And to be clear, it happens in all walks of life, right? It doesn't matter where you are. Politics, science, education, like it literally does not matter. Most people would rather just regurgitate something they've heard or something they've seen versus actually formulating their own opinion or doing their own research and verifying whether what they heard is actually the case. And I'm guilty of this. You're probably guilty of it too. We all learn, right? We learn. But because this channel is focusing on watches, we're going to talk about this within the watch realm. So when I first started in the hobby, the first dive watch I ever thought of or learned about or knew about was the archetype of the modern diver, which is the Rolex Submariner. Here in front of us, shout out Monochrome Watches, probably my favorite watch media site other than my own. They have a beautiful picture of a 1953 Rolex Submariner. You see a very clean case, no crown guards, right? If you were to blur your vision, you might think this is a Tudor Black Bay, and that's because the Tudor Black Bay was designed with this 1953 Submariner in mind. And guys, when I first entered the hobby, I just learned about the Submariner, and I learned that it's the first ever dive watch, and I just ran with it. I was like, oh, cool. That's really freaking cool. And it took me a little while later to learn about Blancpain. Now, shout out to TeddyBaltazar.com. This beautiful picture of a Blancpain 50 Fathoms came out in 1952. So, Rolex 1953, Blancpain 1952. Why are we forgetting about the Blancpain? Because clearly Blancpain's the first ever diver, right? I mean, clearly. Look at this. So I regurgitated that. And I was like, I was one of the people that I see in my own comment section being like, Submariner is overrated because actually Blancpain made the first ever diver. So I know something you don't. But again, I was wrong because it took me years later to learn about who actually made the first ever dive watch. Omega. In 1932. 20 years before Blancpain came out with the 50 Fathoms. This is really interesting. Okay, so to be clear, a year ago, I made an episode talking about this theme. So if you want to watch that episode, I'll link it in the description below. But I'm getting a whole lot of new viewers. Now we're above 200,000 subscribers. So I'm doing a little refresher here. Omega, I think, is better known, or more well known, I should say, than Blancpain. Right? Blancpain is underrated. Omega, I do not feel is overrated or underrated. I think they're good where they are. Rolex, however, I think in many ways is overrated. And this is coming from a self-described Rolex fanboy. Again, vintage stuff, modern stuff. Omega... Now I'm second guessing what I just said. Maybe Omega is a little bit underrated because they do have a lot more firsts than Rolex or Blancpain. I mean, first ever dive watch. Speedmaster went to the moon. Can Rolex say the same about either of those? I guess not. And I'm probably forgetting something. Guys, let me know where you think these three watchmakers line up. You know, Blancpain, Omega, Rolex. I think in the overall scheme of things, I think it's looked at that Rolex is up top, Omega is in the middle, and Blancpain is below them. But if I were to do it myself, I think it would be Omega up at the top, Rolex right below them, and then Blancpain a little bit below that. Even though Blancpain makes really, really cool watches, they're just, I don't know. It's so hard to say because the 50 Fathoms line is not as that exciting to me, but the Villaret line, or the Villaret, however you want to pronounce it, it's a beautiful series of watches with a ton of complications and crazy detail. So maybe it's Omega, Blancpain, Rolex. I have no idea. Guys, teach me in the comment section. But I wanted to talk about this. The Omega Marine Standard, okay? 1932. An ingenious way to make this watch watertight. They do not utilize a threaded crown the same way that Blancpain or Rolex did. Instead, they chose to cap the watch's case with a sheath that you see literally slides over the head of the watch, sealing the watch, thus making it waterproof. And I think not in 19, I think it was 2007, Omega released these reissues. Look at this. Gorgeous. They put a coaxial movement in it, blued hands, pretty much a 1-to-1 copy of the original Marine Standard. This is an absolutely gorgeous watch. These are very hard to find because these were limited. But I would absolutely own one of these. And this is a dive watch. How crazy is that? Again, if you were to blur your vision here, you'd think it's a reverso. This looks almost exactly like my yellow gold Reverso Classique. Has the same lines, the handset, blued hands, the same type of minute track. It's insane. This could look like a Reverso, but guess what? This is actually a whole lot cooler. And that's coming from me, a Reverso owner, and someone who thinks the Reverso might be the best watch on earth. I don't know. This is even cooler than that. So, is this really a dive watch? Well, yes, and I have some information to prove it. So, crazy engineering and crazy testing for the time. Again, guys, 1932. This is 20 years before Blancpain released the 50 Fathoms. So, according to revolutionwatch.com, thank you for the information, the Omega Marine was tested at 73 meters in Lake Geneva and then in a pressure chamber at a laboratory in Neuchâtel to a pressure corresponding to 135 meters depth. The amount of testing they did, again, you only listed 2 things. Yeah, but actually putting it in the water at depth and then pressure testing it at depth, that's like insane testing and engineering and follow through from a watchmaker in 1932. This makes me all tingly inside. This is where the watch nerd comes out. I think this is so interesting, and it really shows you that these high-end, like, well-respected watchmakers, they're well-respected for a reason. It's because they were doing crazy things, like, well before my parents were even born. And my parents are old. I'm just kidding. I know my mom watches my channel. I love you, Mom. You're beautiful. You're the best mom ever. Everyone in the comment section say hi to my mom and tell her she's beautiful right now. All right. With that being said, why did I make a big deal about this? Well, again, it's to combat this stupid game of telephone, and I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to keep telling you the facts. And guess what? If there's an actual dive watch that came out before this watch, teach me about it. Teach me about it so I can make another off-the-cuff segment saying, hey, I just learned about this other watch. So if you know of a diver that came out before 1932 that takes the cake as actually the first dive watch, I would love to learn about it because I'm going to geek out even more. And then I'm going to make another episode and I will shout you out for teaching me a thing or two. You'll show me. All right, guys, thank you for becoming a channel member if you haven't already. Thank you for subscribing if you haven't already. Real quick, my son, Linky, wants to thank you for being a viewer and for supporting me here and everywhere else. Follow me on Instagram at The Simple Consultant. You can see a whole lot of like behind the scenes stuff, and you can see me outside of work, and you can see my car collection and stuff. We've been testing other editors. Don't worry, Gato is still in charge. Gato's still in charge. But we're making a whole lot of new content. So we've been trying to get, like our team has been trying to find other people to edit. And so we've been working on the latest Drive episode. It's been taking a little longer than we thought because we're trying to see who will work with us best and who can chop it up the best. And yeah, so don't worry. There's going to be another Drive episode talking about the winners of the giveaway. I haven't forgot about you guys. But again, it's taking a little bit longer than we thought to get this piece edited. So fear not, more content on the way, and I will catch you on the next one. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay blessed. I'm Jory Goodman, the Time Teller. Always remember, I didn't invent time. I just tell it. I maybe should have worn my Submariner for this episode. But the Submariner's not the first dive watch.